Today we're going to be talking about ADHD and how do you manage your ADHD when you're applying to law school, when you're in law school, what do you do if you've never been diagnosed but you think you have ADHD? Let's talk about it here. ADHD coach and comedian Henry Lam is an extraordinary individual with a penchant for creativity and humor. As a second generation Chinese American, Henry's journey from the maze of accounting to ADHD coaching is both entertaining and inspiring. Driven by his firsthand experience as an Asian American navigating life with ADHD, Henry brings a unique perspective to his mission. As a coach, Henry seamlessly blends holistic practices with lighthearted humor, transforming challenges into opportunities for laughter and growth. He firmly believes that ADHD is not a limitation, but a unique gift waiting to be harnessed, and he's here to help others unlock their potential. So today we are talking about that. This is a topic that's really important to me as someone who has ADHD but wasn't diagnosed until I was 26. I went through all of law school and even clerking and the first year of practicing law at a firm with ADHD without knowing it. So this is going to be a really fantastic topic. Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Sydney, for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Henry Lam, an ADHD coach and comedian with a passion for science and self improvement. I specialize in helping high functional individuals with ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed, manage their unique challenges and enhance their academic and professional careers. So, just like many ADHD folks, I was undiagnosed for many years until I was 22, and life was tough, not understanding myself, and then having HD combined type, and it seems like you're all over the place. And getting diagnosed was one of the best things that happened to me, so I can understand more about myself, which is very important to succeed in whatever you want to do. And afterwards, I was still struggling. I couldn't find my purpose, and I found one of my purposes, which is helping people. And hey, I'm really good at problem solving and passionate about helping people, which a lot of HD folks are very passionate about helping people. And just, hey, combining my skill set with this coaching to help folks become their true selves. And so that's pretty much about me.
So, Henry, let's talk a little bit about your experience. You said, you started off undiagnosed, you were diagnosed at 22, and I can talk about my experiences too, but what is it that made you realize maybe I should talk to someone about the symptoms that I have? And then who did you go see? Like, talk to me a little bit more about that part of your journey.
Yeah, so I saw many therapists in my life from like sixth grade to getting diagnosed, and even afterwards, especially with AC combined type, meaning more likely to be jumping around. But trying to find the best fit. So in not being like, hey, you got ADHD, or maybe you should see an ADHD therapist or ADHD coach, well, which most people don't even know about. So it's like, okay, you got some anxiety and you got some depression. And there's like therapy. I'm just sitting there doing nothing, it felt like, for many years. And then for some reason, the one therapist before I got diagnosed was like, maybe you have ADHD. And then I'm like, what? It's like, and then of course they'd be like, why didn't he say that earlier? But then I guess it took so many sessions for him to kind of pinpoint it. But he didn't specialize in ADHD. And then I asked my doctor, hey, I want to get diagnosed with ADHD if I have it. And he's like, okay, see the one psychologist nearby and take, you know, questionnaires and surveys and some interview questions and in different sessions, IQ tests, etc., and then even a history questionnaire for myself and my family to judge. And then it's like, oh, you got AC combined type and you have moderate symptoms.
I know for myself that I wasn't necessarily thinking that I had ADHD. I was able to kind of mask that and work through that for most of So like I was able to work through that for most of my time in college and in law school. But I had these coping mechanisms. So I knew I couldn't sit still for too long. Like I could sit still for a while, but like I couldn't listen to a lecture for 3 hours without also multitasking or doing something on my computer or my phone. 3 hour lecture classes were really difficult for me. So I preferred shorter seminar classes. And there was just like just tiny things. It actually really wasn't until I started working at the firm when there were billable hours that I actually was thinking, there might be something here because I couldn't figure out where all my billable hours were going. I felt like I was working all day, but I wasn't billing that many hours. I was kind of task switching a lot, which is not really conducive to maximizing your billable hours. And I just wanted a way that so that I wanted to find a way so that I could feel more um, just confident and more on top of what I was doing. I had some motivation issues, doing work that was not exciting to me, a lot of emails. And I really found that when I got diagnosed, I found an online psychiatrist who took my insurance. So I didn't go through a therapist referral, but he was able to make that diagnosis and it was really helpful for me. I think there are a lot of people, especially when we think about marginalized communities, Black and Brown communities, it can be really stigmatizing to talk about ADHD or to even begin the process of looking at your symptoms or going to get checked out or seeing a mental health provider. I know that while mental health wasn't stigmatized in my family, I know that in the larger community, there are definitely a lot of people who probably have it. I think there are other family members of mine that have ADHD, but they've just never gone and gotten it checked out. So what would you say to someone who might have ADHD? They suspect they might have ADHD, but they're concerned about the stigma from their families or the communities or culture.
Yeah, so this is the biggest thing, what people perceive ADHD is and what it isn't. So when people say ADHD, they might think of the stereotype, the little boy who's causing trouble, can't sit still, and talkative and a lot of energy, and that it's a bad thing. Well, it's not a bad thing. It's bad when he doesn't get the things he needs. And then when you pinpoint ADHD to its positives and people who are successful with ADHD, like for example, Michael Jordan, Richard Branson, Adam Levine, etc. So you have people from all different careers successful with ADHD. Doesn't mean that you're bad and ADHD is bad. It's just if you just communicate ADHD with no reference, then it's troubling to most people, and then it's like, oh, you got to take medication for it. Well, you don't have to take medication, but it can really give you a boost if it works for you and paying attention and listening better and etc. So yeah.
And so, what are the ways that you help students that come to you with questions about ADHD or well, like what are the common things that people are coming to you with about their ADHD?
Yeah, so a lot of folks are struggling with motivation. They're like, I'm tired of waiting to the deadline to do it. I can't struggle to stay focused for a certain period. I keep switching tasks. I feel anxiety and stress due to the pressures and that I'm procrastinating a lot, and I don't feel good about that. For so many hours, and then you feel so much pressure when you're at the deadline, but it's really exhausting to put 7 all-nighters or whatever it is straight to get whatever you need to get done, especially if you're becoming a law student or a student, etc. A lot of work to do, and if you're just doing that last minute, it's very taxing on you. So, and then, organizing and time management and prioritizing all the things they have to do, it can be very tough.
Absolutely. My piano teacher used to say that I had grace under pressure. So I had a tendency to wait till the last minute to do large projects, but I did some of my best work, which I think negatively reinforced that behavior in me. I was like, oh, well, this is working out well for me. And it did for a while until I started practicing law. And I was like, oh no, No, this is not the way to have work life balance. I had to try something new. So specifically, like if I were to come to you with those concerns, motivation, or procrastination, how would you help me as an ADHD coach?
Yeah, so we're gonna figure out first of all, what are you gonna do about all the distractions, the task switching, all that stuff? Like, how are you gonna create barriers for that, so they don't be your barrier, but you create barriers that create space for you to reflect and be mindful of what you're doing? Because ADHD folks need a lot of reminders, like what time it is, what am I doing? Is this the most important task I'm doing? So creating structure every day and motivation, combining those, then it's like, okay, I focus well in the morning, 4 hours, get the important stuff done, and then later you do the busy stuff, the whatever, etc. And you can still use deadlines. It's just more of them, or you can save some things for the deadline because sometimes you get your best work out of it, but using that all of the time is not good. So, and then do you block out distractions? If we're blocking out time, do you block out the distractions with your phone, shopping, etc., and make sure you're taking care of yourself? Because it's like a Ferrari, you got to take care of the car, so you got to take care of yourself. And with ADHD, even if you're high functioning and very successful, deep down you're maybe not taking care of yourself. You maybe have some poor self-esteem, even though you have all these things, because you're like, oh, I can be better, etc. So working on self-care and self-love is very important.
Absolutely. I think that self care and self love is so important in every aspect. That's definitely something that we talk to our students about, even in the application process, right? How to make this process joyful and relaxing and not stressful and filled with imposter syndrome and doubt, but how to really believe in yourself in the application process is something we really stress here, and definitely something that I think if you are struggling with ADHD or you're struggling with motivation or procrastination, it can make it a lot more frustrating of an application process for you because you're like, why didn't I start these essays earlier? Or why am I just now studying for the LSAT exam? Or maybe I'm not prepared. And I think those thoughts kind of go into those feelings of, maybe I can't be a lawyer, or this is too hard for me. When it's really like, no, you just have some things to work through, and maybe some of that is the motivation, the procrastination, there's ADHD things. I mean, I know I also tend to hyperfocus, which can be both a blessing and a curse at times. Sometimes it can be great. If I really need to get something done, I can hyper focus on a project, but also sometimes when I need to be doing other things, I can definitely hyper focus on what I'm not supposed to be doing. So that's something that I definitely try to watch and manage myself. You said earlier, that ADHD can be managed with or without medication, and I've been on medication and I've been off medication, so I've kind of seen both sides. What are your takes on medication if that's something that people are a little concerned about?
Yeah, so medication is not everything. It doesn't teach you the skills. It doesn't give you feedback. It doesn't write your plans. It just gives you an extra boost for you to be able to do all those other things and keep track of things. It's just it only lasts for, like, depending on what you take and your biochemistry and your luck, 4 6 hours, and then it's gone. It's like the rest of the day, what are you going to do? And then some people have a crash afterwards, or during it they have anxiety, or they're more moody, or they're not themselves. And then it's like, okay, then what are you going to do about it? Then you switch to different kind of medications, the non-stimulant ones, and then you're like, oh, I don't get the same effect as the stimulant one. Everyone wants, like, oh, Adderall, I want that crazy focus. You can create crazy focus. We've seen you create crazy focus, but not on the things you don't want to do, slash it's not urgent. But how can you recreate that? So it's about looking at your life and your habits and lifestyle. If you're not looking at the big picture and then breaking down, like, how you're getting into these ruts and how you're getting into your happy motivation focused smiling mode, then you're going to have trouble even with medication or without, if you're not getting feedback. It's like a boxing coach and a boxer. You could have such great talent, but if you don't have feedback and practice and refinement, how are you going to get better and better? So, especially if you're high achieving, you can get away for so long until you have a lot of pressure and too many responsibilities and something new that you can't handle anymore. And it's like, oh, I can. Oh, some people's like, oh, you don't have ADHD. Well, AC folks, the high chi ones, easy get lost because like, hey, you get things done, but then when a crisis happens, typical like you got divorced or whatever, it's like everything is like out of place. It's like you're not yourself anymore. And it's like it's a good chance you have ADHD because you have a AC friendly job. It's just you've been, masking for so long.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like you could mask it for a while until the pressures. I think that's definitely basically my story. And I've had doctors be like, "Oh, you went to Princeton and Harvard Law School. Like, you don't have ADHD." And I think that's so dangerous that, like, yeah, you can be incredibly high achieving and very successful and still have ADHD. It doesn't mean if you have ADHD that you're a failure or that you can't achieve well. But that you're right, it is a problem because if you can reach those heights, right? Like if you can go to the top schools and get the top corporate job with undiagnosed ADHD, at some point it's going to catch up to you. And it can be a little bit surprising to realize that, wow, all of these things, these coping mechanisms and compensations that I've done over the years are really because I've had undiagnosed ADHD. And then starting that process of getting treatment is, it can be good, but can also be challenging depending on, what kind of role and what kind of job you have. So I definitely recommend seeking help and guidance with your ADHD because like I said, I didn't find out till I was actually at a firm. And when you run your own business, it's a little bit more ADHD friendly. So I think this is also why I've thrived in this space that I couldn't do quite as well without more treatment. I didn't have any treatment or any support when I was at the firm. And maybe it would have been great if I had that treatment. I would have done great at the firm, but I didn't have any of that treatment. And so the ADHD was really difficult for me at the firm. Henry, I'd love for you to tell our listeners, like, where they can work with you. I know you said a little bit how you work with students, but if you want to talk a little bit about just like your actual coaching, where they can find that, what that looks like if they're interested.
Yeah, so I coach through the internet, all remote. So my website www.adhdcoachingnearme.com, or you can just type in adhdcoachhenry.com. Pretty much with coaching, you come to me, you have your challenges in your life and what you want in your life, and you're like, how do I get there? Well, solutions and progress and feedback, etc., is what I'm helping you achieve during each of the coaching sessions. It's like, what's going well? What can you do better? What do you need from me? Accountability. What do you need to learn more about? How can we overcome this challenge with using your positives, your strengths, your values, and making your life more you? Because the things that you don't want to do, you might have to still do them. It's like, how can you make it more you? Whether you play the music you like, you put on a shirt you like, you use accountability with people that you don't want to disappoint. What kind of words can you say to yourself? It's all about building all these little habits throughout your time because you're the most valuable thing in the world. So it's like it takes time to unwind those habits you built over so many years. And as a coach, it's like, okay, I see you two times a month, 3 times a month, 4 times a month, 30 minutes or 1 hour, depending what you need to keep helping you drive, farther in your life and not, get stuck. Because easily with ADHD, you get stuck in um, deep down in the dumps, or the hay, you feel like you're like a crazy overwhelmed tornado, and then it's like finally you get a breather. And in general, a lot of people, they don't get out of that, just being conscious and mindful. And it takes time, and having someone be there with you who listens to you and doesn't judge you and helps you push along, just like when you're riding a tricycle, etc. It's like, well, because a lot of people are missing that in their life, somebody to help guide them, to mentor them. And so, that's what I do.
Well, Henry, thank you so much. This was such an informative episode. I know I learned a lot. I never thought about an ADHD coach, so that's definitely a new one for me. but one that I'm really happy to know about. And I think it's a resource that our students are going to be really excited to learn about. So thank you so much for being on this episode. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sydney. And for all you students out there, you guys got this, and keep your resilience up, which we have a lot of resilience as ADHD folks, and be amazing, however you want to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have questions, definitely make sure to leave a comment below or send us an email. We would love to hear from you. Of course, you can always submit a question to our podcast at bit.ly/breakintolawschool. We hope this was just so helpful for you. Make sure that you like and review, follow and subscribe, and share it with a friend because sharing is caring. We'll talk to you soon.